go. Thank you for joining us here at the November meeting of the Conservation Commission here. At this time, all that wish to, please stand and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, roll call. Amelia?
Here.
Wilson?
Present.
Bernardo?
Here.
Brian Averbeck?
Here.
And Nicholas Rudolph are in attendance. Tom and Joseph are not, but we do have a quorum tonight. First up, review and approval of the meeting minutes for October 2nd, 2024. Are there any changes, additions, modifications?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent. First up on the docket here today is a notice of intent, DEP file 0610827. This is for 630 Revere Beach Boulevard, the addition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. For the record, Rick Salvo with Engineering Alliance. Here this evening on behalf of Marshall Lucinta, who is the owner and the applicant. I've got some supplemental package that I'd like to pass out. This isn't really new information. This is all information that we've already discussed. I happened to notice when I looked on the DEP website tonight that they had made comments, and I didn't see them when they had previously posted the file number. So the only change, there's no changes to the plan. They asked for a profile to be drawn that showed the relationship between the garage, the flood openings, and the office, and how the office is supported. So you'll see that in the...
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate you addressing the comments. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Leonard. I appreciate that. If you wouldn't mind taking it through.
Yeah, so like I said, if you look over on this side of the plan over here, there's a little profile that we had drawn that showed that the flood openings they were actually within 6 inches of grade. They're supposed to be within 1 foot of grade. The size of the flood openings, there'll be smart vent engineered openings. It also shows the office over here, which is elevated on piles. It's going to match the first floor elevation of the house.
Okay.
The first floor elevation of the house is about elevation 15. The floodplain is elevation 11. It's way above the floodplain. Any floodwaters that were to hit these openings comes from the marsh. That's why we place the openings on that side of the building.
Yep, on the north side of the...
So if this marsh were to flood in a 100-year coastal event, it would have a tendency to push towards the garage, flood the garage, which it's intended to do, and then reseed back towards the marsh. So any deflection, reflection of floodwaters would be directed really back towards the marsh, not impacting adjacent dwellings that are to either side and uphill of this. The improvements that get constructed on this side of the dwelling, which are the handicap ramp and the mudroom, those are at elevation 12.4 to 12.56. So those are outside of the floodplain anyway, so there's no impact to the floodplain to those structures. So we didn't add any new information. We didn't change anything. All we did was provided what the DEP had looked for, which was a profile showing the relationship to the flood openings to the floodplain. The only other piece of information that got added in here is they plan to resurface the driveway to the same line and grade as it is now and the same footprint it is now. No change. I don't even know if that needs approval, but I just wanted to get it on record that they do plan to resurface the driveway in the exact same footprint that it's in now, in elevation.
Yeah, there wouldn't be any significant changes to the existing structure or the existing driveway. So I would say that that would be a negligible impact for this project. I think it would be a great addition to get a nice new driveway to pull down into. Do any of the other commissioners have any questions about this, about the DEP comments or the new addition of the profile picture that Rick has added to these drawings? Nope. Okay. One request that I would make, Rick, is that the fence along in between that has been taken down be the first thing that's erected during the project, just to mitigate neighbor tensions, so to speak. That would be my recommendation from Councilor Guarino Soya. She wanted me to mention that.
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue. I mean, obviously, where it goes up to where the new foundation is, they're gonna probably wanna put the new foundation in before they erect the fence, but.
Well, yeah,
Beyond
no.
that. But yeah, if you wanna add that in as a special condition, you know, the privacy fence is clearly shown on the plan. We have no objections to taking that as a condition.
I mean, obviously, you have to get the footing established for it first, but
Right.
I would appreciate that, Rick. Thank you very much. One second. Okay, any questions from the audience about this before we close the hearing? Okay, close the hearing for this. And I would like to put this to a vote to the commission to approve this notice of intent.
I'd make a motion to approve the NOI.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you for
very
your time.
much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll be sending that information out for you, and any additions, just send them along, sir. Thank you. You as well. Next up is the notice of intent, DEP file 0610828. This is for 20 Henry Street, renovating a backyard and driveway by installing permeable pavers. Is there someone here from that? If you could come up.
It's my first time, so.
It's all right.
I already asked Ms. Lorena.
Yeah, if you could turn on the mic and just say your name and address.
My
for the
name is
record.
Reginaldo Costa. 20 Henry Street. Put it all together.
Thank you. So we had an opportunity to walk this down, and it was a fairly straightforward project with the addition of patio pavers, which will all be permeable surface, allowing for water to infiltrate with the addition of some French drains and some drainage, an addition of the French drain near the downspout of the home.
Yes.
Now, yes, I received that. Thank you for providing the updated drawing of that. Does anybody else need to see a copy of that? Do you have other copies?
Actually, I didn't, so.
That's okay. Loretta, do you have the,
Yeah, I'm trying to share it on my screen, I think, for Revere TV. I'm sharing it on the Zooms. Yep, thank you.
thank you very much.
Yeah, that is just the stones that's gonna laid on the patio. It's just to have an idea.
And while we're at it, we'll open the hearing, a little bit belated, apologies. Thank you for bearing with us. We're just getting a drawing up so we can make sure everybody has a good understanding of the project ahead. Were you guys able to secure all your building materials for this project? Good. It's always been a area of concern for most folks. All right, there we are. So I guess one of my questions is, are you going to still maintain the ejection pump that is at the, I don't know if we made that clear, or if you were going to remove that, or in lieu of just a drain at the, catch basin at the bottom of your downspout, or are you gonna keep the ejection pump from the backyard?
No, that's not the intention. The intention is to make the French drainers to see if they be able to get, because the pave itself, so it's gonna absorb the water going to the ground, so the water's not gonna run as used to be on the asphalt right now, so that's the plan, so.
Okay,
The bucket, it was just something to help to kill the water out of the property.
no, I appreciate that. Moving water off your property is always a cause for concern, but adding the drains, I think, will mitigate the water very nicely for your property, and especially adding the two that you did on the left side of your property and the one in the back there. It will definitely help considerably. Any questions from the commission about this? Okay. Any questions from the audience
Sure.
about this project?
Chair, I just have a question.
Yes.
So at the corner, if you go back with the picture, so you will have the French drain that will capture pretty much the gutter coming, that's where the gutter is, the location at that corner where you have 5-7 next to the deck, that's where the gutter is, and the intention is for the water to go into the French threshold pretty much? Okay. The reason why I ask, I'm trying to avoid any water like going into the neighbor, and then after the construction, and if they start complaining about water going into their property, and the only thing that has changed is this, I just want to make sure no water goes into a neighbor.
Now their water is coming to my.
Oh, it is.
Because
Yeah,
the
we
gutter-
have the opposite problem in this situation.
Oh, really? Yeah.
The gutter is streaming the water to my property,
Oh, okay.
because the gutter doesn't have make the water go to another way.
I got you.
The gutter is streaming the water to my property.
Oh, okay. So it's,
If you remember, the grade on the existing properties abutting yours were considerably higher, roughly around 12 inches or so on the left side, and probably about 18 to 15 inches on the right side, from what I observed. But yeah, he has
Oh,
quite
okay.
the opposite
yeah,
problem.
I just want to make sure after this is done, it's no higher than theirs, and then they complain,
Oh,
and they,
okay.
yeah. Okay, that's fine.
As,
Thank
you suggest, so that changed the plan as was before, so.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And thank you for making that accommodation. Any more questions? Good. So I'd like to open it up to the audience if they have any questions about this. No? Okay. Hearing none, I'm going to close the hearing. And seeing how this is going to make an impact for your property by being able to retain water, this will help your neighbors as well. And hopefully you'll be able to use your backyard a little more regularly.
That's my wish, the kids' wish.
Yes, of course, everybody wants to be outside. At this time, I'd like to call for approval of this notice of intent.
I'll make a motion to approve the NOI.
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch with some paperwork, and we'll be able to get your project started. We'll have a few things for you. We'll send you a packet along, and thank you for your time.
Should, do I have to wait more here? Or-
No, you're good.
Good, okay.
All set. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Next up is a notice of intent DEP file 0610830. This is Revere Mass Owner LLC, 49 and 51 Lee Burbank Highway. Proposed construction of a technology warehouse and site improvements. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening,
You,
Commission.
Wouldn't mind stating your name for the record?
Hi, my name is Chris Roller. I am with the applicant of the project. And so this is for which address?
This is for 49 and 51, Lee
Okay.
Burbank.
Both.
Yeah, they lumped it up into one DEP file number.
Great, great. Well, thank you for your time this evening, Commission. As I said, my name is Chris on behalf of the applicant, and we're here today to present our notice of intent filing. Our technical experts and consultants, Nick and Scott, will have a nice presentation prepared today. But I just wanted to appreciate, thank you for your time and for the site visit last weekend. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for accommodating the hoopla on McClellan Highway. That was very interesting. I'm sure the Irving guys are gonna be talking about that for a little while.
No harm, no foul. All good.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I just want to reiterate the fact that we appreciate you coming out and risking your lives on the highway to come out on Saturday. So I think it was well worthwhile, so.
Absolutely, Scott.
So we filed a notice of intent for this project. It's a 26.5 acre site. It's an existing bulk petroleum storage tanks, pipes, infrastructure, and access driveways. So the site's fully disturbed with either paved, compacted gravel surfaces, and there's really no buffer areas or landscaping, as you saw out there. There's pretty much stone and grading right to the edge of the well. So this is an aerial view of the existing conditions. As you're all well aware, there's tanks out there, access, paved driveways. Wetland resource areas are kind of in the northeast corner of the site. The proposed project consists of a 267,600 square foot technology warehouse building. We'll install perimeter erosion controls and inlet protection throughout construction and maintain until areas are fully stabilized. There's loading docks, parking, access driveways, utility improvements, and a new stormwater management system, which we can discuss in a few minutes, with a discharge across the street to existing Chelsea Creek. There's significant landscape improvements consisting of 3.5 acres of added landscaped area and some wetland buffer areas and site frontage areas that will be landscaped. So as you see the area in yellow, there's a pond and area of bordering vegetative wetland. Kind of that purple line is the 100-foot buffer zone. And the blue is the area which is land subject to coastal storm flowage. So as you see, the proposed building is outside of and mostly outside the buffer zone. We do have some impacts associated with portions of the parking lot, access routes, and paving within the 100-foot buffer zone, and some grading work within land subject to flooding. So this is kind of a detailed sheet of the proposed project, mostly related to stormwater. So the stormwater on the site will be collected, routed through deep sump catch basins, water quality unit, into underground infiltrations, underground systems. That will be pumped across, as we indicated at Saturday's site visit, that will be pumped across the street and discharged within the same, connected to the same discharge point into the Chelsea Creek. So there'll be some significant stormwater improvements from this project, as well as significant landscape improvements associated with this project. This is a kind of a landscape rendering. As you can see, the areas in green. We've got some plantings along the pond in the rear and some restoration occurring in that area. So there'll be some significant improvements to the buffer zone. And there's some significant improvements to the frontage, even though it's, portions of it are within land subject to coastal storm flowage, but there's some significant landscape features in the front. So about 3.5 acres of landscape improvements over the existing conditions. So that's a pretty good summary of the proposed project. We'd be happy to answer any specific questions if the commission has any.
When do you believe that this will be completed?
So we are aiming to start demolition of the existing tanks and pipelines and infrastructure in the next month or so. We're aiming to complete the building by Q1 27.
Okay, so you got some time there. All right.
It's a tricky site to build. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you come across any problems concerning that is, the DEP have mentioned any kind of wells or contamination on the site or anything like that?
No, you know, the site, you would think, would be fairly contaminated. But we've been able to triage the existing problems and resolve most of those, particularly on that phase one site. So,
Yeah.
you know, phase one to the north, for all intents and purposes, we've resolved
Yeah, that was,
most of the open environmental issues. And, you know, the remaining RTNs should be closed, call it within the next 6 months or so.
I just remember that the other global site had quite a few problems over there.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that, I know I didn't ask it during the site visit, but that was a concern of mine after I left. I just kind of,
Yeah. Listen, achieving regulatory closure for open environmental issues is really important to us. So we're doing, you know, temporary solutions and permanent solutions to close those open RTNs. And then on top of that, we're essentially capping the site by raising it above the 2070 100-year floodplain. So, you know, the site will be leveled, capped with clean fill, and then, you know, landscaped in such a way that, you know, that source of environmental pollution or perceived environmental pollution will no longer exist.
okay. Any other questions?
You mentioned about the water treatment that you're trying to install. Is that, how is that going to be maintained? Like, is someone be doing like routine maintenance on that system, or how it operates, so we can understand a little bit more?
Yeah, Nick Scully from VHB. So there's access ports in those, and there's an O&M plan associated with this. So there's regular cleaning of the deep sump and hooded catch basins and the water quality units. So ideally, that catches all the sediment and everything and pollutants before it gets into that subsurface system. But then that has access ports and whatnot too, and has a routine inspection and cleaning if it gets to a certain point.
How often you planning to do that maintenance, or is something?
It's every 3 years, I believe, for sediment, depending on how much you collect, and I believe it's yearly for oil debris, or oily debris that would be caught in that vortexing type tank.
Correct, yeah, and I think the inspections are done biannually.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So this is something already being done pretty much.
Yeah, these are best management practices for any kind of catch basin for stormwater management systems.
Oh, okay. That's
It's an operations and maintenance manual within the stormwater
okay.
Which I'm sure you don't want to have to replace a stormwater management system like that. That's probably a
No.
pretty extensive price tag or replacement cost associated with that. So I don't have any other questions about the stormwater management system. The only thing I would just make sure it's stay on top of it. Especially with that highway area, a lot of opportunity to catch oily debris and sediment and runoff from the road, especially, you know, once you get it first set up. So just be mindful of that.
Yeah, and with our MEPA approvals, we obviously have a MassDOT permit for the driveway connection, so we are going through, we're mill and overlaying this frontage. There is a little widening of 1A to get an acceleration, deceleration lane in here. And with that, they've asked us to do some stormwater management improvements on 1A, new catch basin sumps. So
Did you have a pumping system to get it on through the other side, or did they not ask about that? It'll be all gravity fed to the other side?
So their system stays contained. So we're fixing their system, sort of cleaning it, upgrading it. Ours is going to be pumped, so we have been through that. That's part of that access permit that we have with them.
Yeah, that's probably why.
But it will be pumped. It's mimicking the existing condition today.
Okay. Any other questions?
Are you excavating or any dirt movement, I assume, right? My point is just if we make sure that erosion control, that we don't want to contaminate the water, since it's very close to the water, so it can impact the wildlife, and so that's.
To answer your question, so there's a plan sheet on here for stormwater management. So there'll be perimeter erosion controls and then inlet protection as well, and, construction access, tire scrubbers. So that will be installed, maintained throughout the construction until the area is completely stabilized.
And where it's over an acre, we're gonna have the construction general permit as well.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Any other questions from the audience? All right, we will open and close at the same time. Make a one swift movement there. Thank you. Hearing no more questions, I'd like to, and considering all of the stringent practices that you will be adhering to while you are constructing and deconstructing and constructing, I see no reason why we shouldn't approve this, and I would call for a motion to approve this notice of intent.
Chair, I would absolutely agree with you with the amount of attention that they're gonna have with oil tanks and everything, that there'll be a lot of eyes on everything you literally do. So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. So I'll make a motion to approve the NOI.
Excellent. Second?
Second, I approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
I know Nick Scully too well. I need to recuse myself. Sorry for being late.
Not a problem. Not a
Thank you very
problem,
much.
sir. Thank you very much. Okay, next up, we might as well just stay right there. Notice of intent, DEP file number 0610829, from the same owner, and this is on the opposite side of the highway. And this is a proposed demolition of the existing buildings and associated site work. Open the hearing.
Good evening. Again, just for the record, Scott Morrison from VHB, Wetland Scientist. So again, we filed a notice of intent for across the street, 96 and 186A, Lee Burbank Highway. That particular project consists of demolition of the existing buildings, removal of the infrastructure over there, essentially get the area pad ready for future development. As part of that, the existing site's about 10 acres. It's an existing petroleum distribution terminal, warehouse building, piping, related infrastructure, and access driveways. So the entire 10 acres is fully disturbed, paved, or compacted gravel surfaces. So this is an overall existing, aerial view. As you can see, the Chelsea River is to the north. There's a small area of salt marsh, area bordering vegetated wetlands, some coastal bank, and obviously land subject to coastal storm flowage throughout the entire site. So again, the proposals to remove the existing buildings, all the above ground infrastructure, piping, all that material, remove that, be temporarily stabilized with crushed stone, backfill any of the foundation areas, stabilize that. Erosion controls will be installed prior to construction, so there'll be perimeter erosion controls, inlet protection. The existing stormwater will be maintained throughout this construction, and the stormwater, erosion controls will be maintained until such time the area is proposed for redevelopment. We expect to likely come back with a new notice of intent within a month or two for the development, but this kind of gives them the ability to get started on the demolition work, which is time consuming. So that's the proposal for this particular side of the site. I'd be happy to answer questions, and again, thank you to the commission for coming out on Saturday.
So I know that you'll have erosion controls in place until the site is scheduled for something. Can you get a little more specific what you're going to use for erosion controls, considering that we have areas of critical environmental concern adjacent, the possibility of water surging in, and all sorts of other fun stuff that can happen there. Inclement weather washing it into the adjacent areas. So I'd just be curious if you could go a little more in depth.
Yeah, so we've got the perimeter erosion controls consisting of silt fence and straw wattles, silt sock.
Silt socks, okay.
So that will be around the perimeter of the property.
Mhm.
Inlet protection, so you'll have silt sacks within the catch basins, so that any water that goes through there will be filtered as it goes through those catch basins, and then routed through the existing stormwater system out to the Chelsea River.
What about for the surface where you take down buildings? I know there's a considerable amount of asphalt, concrete, all through the site, and the areas and you also have the storage was it Ocean Air on the other
Yep.
side of you guys? Are you leaving the foundation of the Ocean Air building, or are you taking that out?
That all comes out, and they'll put,
Yeah.
my understand, they'll install like backfill it with crushed stone, compact it, so that you've got a compact level surface of those areas. Will allow some infiltration.
Okay.
Probably not 100% infiltration, but you'll have.
So basically, the plan for any exposed foundations where you pull out, you'll be putting in three-quarter crushed stone or something similar to that?
Say something similar.
Yeah,
That.
yeah, something very similar to that. So all ABC material will be hauled off-site, and then, we'll bring in, clean or virgin material to backfill those foundations.
Okay.
The exact, size of that material is TBD, but 3/4 inch, 1 inch, something in that, ballpark.
Yeah, I just don't want a dirt pile.
Exactly.
That can just be blowing all over the place. Yeah, I can only imagine the complaints that we would get from the morning traffic alone.
Yeah.
With the cars that zip through that area. So I just want to make sure that the area is going to be definitively stabilized until such time as it is developed.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
Excellent.
a vacant site is never good for anybody, so, we're trying to avoid that.
No, it's, at least you're taking the structures down, so, vagrants or other opportunistic squatters aren't coming in,
Yeah,
taking advantage of that, so.
Yeah. absolutely.
Absolutely is right. So, any other questions?
No, I just want to echo what the chair said about the erosion control, just making sure when it rains that none of that dirt is going into the water. It's going to impact the sea life. So that's very, for me, it's very critical.
Yeah.
So we can protect that. And at the same time, when it's sunny like these days, that it hasn't rained for a long time, the dust gets wind and is going into the water. That can impact also. So just we can implement the proper.
That's a good
Yeah.
point. Thanks for bringing that up. And
Yeah.
I would just add that, during demolition, we'll have misting, dust bosses on site to, control that. And, our discharge of stormwater for this piece of property has suspended solid regulations that we need to meet and all sorts of, other regulatory contaminant measures. So, we're going to follow those protocols to a T.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's the right thing.
Yeah.
Sure, guys. Thank you.
And then I'm sure until development occurs, you'll have a routine inspection for the silt socks and fences and all of that as well. And I'd love for you to provide that as well, just your frequency, things of that nature.
I think we are providing the commission with monthly reports.
Okay.
For phase one, so, we're happy to continue that for both phases, in fact.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Inspections, that sort of thing.
Yep, absolutely. You've definitely bitten off a lot with these 3 sites, and it's nice to see it developed or begin to get developed as well. And I definitely think that is going to be an improvement for that area especially. Yeah, not so much, not so much. Anyways, so.
Thank you, yeah.
You're very welcome. Any more questions from the commission?
Yeah, if I may add, if a phase doesn't move forward, we're probably going to request a more permanent stabilization of the site, so it's not just a dust bowl, so just something to think about.
Yeah, fair enough.
That would definitely be something we would certainly consider if they hit a snag, so to speak. But we'll definitely be in touch. We'll probably make some site visits just to make sure things are all square. Any more questions? Any questions from the audience about this project? Okay. Close the hearing. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Okay. Seeing how this is just a demolition and a precursor to development, and that they are going to be are exercising all best management practices for this site until such time, I would say that this would be something that the commission would approve. And I would call for a motion to approve this notice of intent.
I'll make a motion to approve the NOI.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Accused.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Very welcome, Chris. Next up, a notice of intent, DEP file number 0610831. This is for 12 Pearl Ave, and this is a proposed permeable retaining wall around the yard to protect the home, basement, and surrounding areas. And this is also going to include a few other additions, cobblestone walkway to the ground on the right side of the home. Garden area will be repaired, and I believe we discussed removal of all of the permeable surfaces in the backyard as well. Is there a representative from this project here today? No, this is 12 Pearl Ave. No. Okay. Anyways, the majority of the commission was available for this site visit. This was in response to an enforcement order where they were beginning construction of a non-permeable wall around their property and trying to put concrete on where they are proposing to put pavers instead. And since then, they have partnered with an engineering company to provide them with a plan, a more definitive plan to comply with the Wetland Protection Act. They are adjacent to a marsh area, an area of critical environmental concern. They are also in the floodplain, and it is definitely a considerable upgrade for what they initially had done to the property. And this is a pretty considerable project. So I'd like to open the hearing and allow for any of the commissioners, if you have any questions about the site. Nope. Since we don't have a representative here, I'm gonna go ahead and continue it so that they can come and make a formal presentation to us so that we have on record what they are exactly going to do. But as far as I'm concerned, this is definitely an improvement, not a detriment to the environment at this point. So we'll continue this till next time. Is that it?
And then folks from 55 Sagamore Street are here. I sent out a letter this last week about a visitation I had to the property owners who had done unpermitted work at their property. They had installed permeable pavers as shown on the screen here. Yeah.
Yes.
And then they've also added crushed stone on the rear end of the property.
Behind the shed.
Behind the shed. And then the property next door is completely crushed stone, but what they're looking for is, well, my recommendation to the commission is that they have the contractor produce drawings of what was done, how deep they excavated to put on the pavers, and actually see whether they are permeable. I can't tell. I don't know how close the joints have to be for it to be permeable.
I definitely, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry.
No,
And
my
then
bad.
I guess like that's just the first step. And then if they're not permeable, we can propose some alternatives like cutting part of the pavers and.
I definitely think that we need to schedule a site visit to take a look so that the commissioners can get a better understanding of what has been done already. I definitely don't want to go the enforcement route. I think that that is unnecessary. You have certainly put in something that is going to enhance instead of becoming a detriment as far as the Wetland Protection Act is concerned. So I think that we will have to certainly have a site visit, and then this will probably be a notice of intent after the fact to avoid any penalties or and just to also have a record of the work that you've done on the property as well. So I think that that would just make sense to have a site visit so we could see it. And then we can get you filed with a notice of intent and we can make this official. If the commission agrees, I'd like to make sure we schedule a site visit for this. Okay. Okay, so we did have some enforcement today, actually. It was an interesting enforcement. This was for a notice of intent that we approved for 29 Putnam. They were outside of the scope of their notice of intent, and they were excavating instead of just resurfacing. And it got a little ugly. But needless to say, I think that we are all going to have to go out there again and address this issue and make sure that our order of conditions is upheld. If not, we might have to go another route with this. But that is the only enforcement I have at this time. We did have some site visits this past weekend, 20 Henry Street, 12 Pearl Ave, both Lee Burbank Highway sites, which proved to be very fruitful. It was a brisk day, but it was definitely worth it. At this time, I'd like to open it up to any open discussion for the commissioners or our agent. Okay. I'd like to thank you all for your time and thank you for attending. We'll be in touch about some further actions that we need to take. And I thank you all for your time. And at this time, I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.